City of Johannesburg has a new chair of chairs. COPE's Colleen Makhubele is now in the hot seat, and she's certainly got her work cut out for her. That's if the chaos we've seen play out in the City Council in recent weeks is anything to go by. Let's discuss her plans for the new role. Colleen Makhubele, thank you so much for joining us this evening. So you were elected on Tuesday, and that is just before the council essentially collapsed because there was no quorum because of the walkout. Tell me, what does a chair of chairs do?
Good evening, and thank you for having me here. Good evening to the viewers as well. The chair of chairs position is a very strategic and critical position in the city because it looks primarily at oversight. Oversight on all the programs and the plans and the budgets of the municipality, meaning that we need to ensure that there is performance management, monitoring and evaluation of the projects that are being done, and not just to monitor whether there was spending, but also to monitor the quality of the results themselves and the impact of what we are doing on the residents and investors and every stakeholder of the City of Johannesburg. Of course, I work very closely with the Speaker, and I support him as it's effectively also a deputy speaker position, and between myself and the Speaker, we run the affairs of council itself. So it is very, very critical, and it's a position that was a little bit neglected in the previous administrations because, as you would know, and you would see with the roads, the water, and all the services that we're supposed to have that were not done properly, that there was no proper oversight, there was no performance management, and over and above that, recourse and accountability on those that are supposed to implement, who are the executives.
All right. Thank you. Very comprehensive explanation of what the chair of chairs does. We've been hearing a lot about these Section 79 oversight committees. Are they essentially the same as portfolio committees?
Yes, they are essentially the same as portfolio committees, and you would have something like a housing committee that will look at the portfolio of housing, and the chairperson of that committee would work closely with the MMC and the executive to ensure that things are done, and then my role will then monitor, evaluate, and approve reports and ensure that indeed what they have said they have done. So they are the same as the portfolio committees.
So why are these chair positions for these oversight committees so hotly contested?
That's interesting. Look, they're hotly contested because they hold power in terms of, you oversee the processes, the budgeting, the planning of the different portfolios. And you have the MMC and the executives accounting, to the various chairpersons. And of course, they are also remunerated differently. So they hold a lot of responsibility and accountability. So I guess councillors are contesting for them because they would like to be more involved in serving the city.
I suppose I'm asking it more from a sort of political party point of view, because we've seen this very contentious issue of the secret ballots. EFF and ANC wanted the vote for these chairs to be done secretly, and of course the multi-party coalition, of which COPE is a part, didn't want that. It seems that the person who becomes the chair has enormous power over the committee, and I suppose the question I want to ask is, but there's a whole committee of people, so why is that chairpersonship of that committee so strategically important?
Look, any chairperson is strategically important in any board. You can think of it as any board that really oversees the operations of an entity or a portfolio. So the chairperson would be the head that gives the strategic direction, and accountable obviously for the well-governing and the oversight of what is happening with the affairs of that particular portfolio or entity. So like I said, also it comes with the, it's a full-time, which is opposite to what a normal councillor would be, and it's remunerated differently as well. But to come to your question on the contestation with regards to the voting method that was highly contested in council. That was really political, because the rules and the standing orders of council are very clear on, what are the powers of the speaker in terms of deciding on which route we take when it comes to voting for the chairpersons and the chair of chair. Other than that, the other positions, which are the mayor, the speaker, and the chief whip, are prescribed in law that it has to be a secret ballot. The other ones, it can be by vote of hand. And the House decided that let it be by vote of hand, because the majority wanted the vote of by show of hand, And the reasons to contest that is just merely to collapse council, and nothing more than that, because precedence has shown us for the past 20 years when ANC was in power, it has always been by show of hands, and nobody contested that. And suddenly, with this new administration coming into power, there is a problem with the show of hands. And
Right.
Legally, there is no problem. It's only political, because they would believe that they would get some votes out of the coalition members if it's secret.
But essentially, when those disgruntled council members walked out, the quorum was not able to be met, because some members of your own multi-party coalition, such as Herman Mashaba of Action South Africa, were not actually present on Tuesday night. So it's important that you surely get everyone on board, isn't it?
Certainly, certainly. And look, in the multi-party coalition, we actually are the majority. A quorum is 136 members. We are 140. What happened on the day, and one would understand, we started the meeting at 10, and we were supposed to have concluded this by noon. And true to that, people have different arrangements and responsibilities, obligations that they need to go attend to, because they didn't budget for that length of time that will still be in council trying to, deal with one item, which is voting for the chairpersons. So some had to be excused. And with that, even our own members of the coalition, they had different responsibilities to attend to. And that meant that, we could not properly correct, and the opposition took advantage of that. They walked out so that we remain uncorrected, and then collapsed council, which is really illegal, in terms of the ruling that we saw in Tshwane.
Illegal, but it works. You delay long enough, as you say, people have to leave, and then suddenly you can't get anything done. So my question is, what now? Because you were explaining you're basically, it's similar to a deputy speaker position as well. So what is now happening to try and make sure that the chairs of these different oversight committees are elected as they're meant to have been already?
Yeah. So if you would remember what happened in council last week, is that the opposition, which is the EFF and the ANC effectively, and other minority parties, withdrew their nominations on the floor, which meant that the voting process basically was done, because it was only the nominations from the multi-party coalitions that stood. And when the speaker asked for 5 minutes just to consolidate those names, then announced the chairpersons that now have been nominated unopposed because the oppositions withdrew, that's when they decided to stage a walkout. So effectively, the chairpersons have been elected because they are now unopposed. So it's a matter of when we meet next week on the 27th of January, next week, Thursday, the speaker then has to announce the 17 chairpersons for the different portfolios, and just to then have that recorded properly in council, and that will then give them the authority to start to perform their duties. So we trust what... Oh yeah, please proceed.
Sorry, I'm trying to understand the process. So you're saying effectively they were elected unopposed. So are you saying there was no need for a vote?
No, because the opposition withdrew their nominations.
And
if you're following
so in other words,
proceedings,
between them withdrawing their nomination and walking out, did you have a show of hands on all those positions, though, before the quorum collapsed, is what I'm asking?
No, we didn't have a show of hands. Obviously, if there's one nomination on the table, that is the unopposed nomination that must go. So yeah, we didn't have a show of hands, and we'll proceed with that nomination to announce the chairpersons on next week. So yeah, I'm not sure if you get what I'm saying.
I think I sort of do. It sounds like it might be open to challenge, though. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. So tell me about the plan for next week, when you are sitting again, what's going to happen next week, and how you're going to ensure that this council isn't dogged by ongoing delaying tactics and attempts to break the coalition.
That's a difficult challenge that we face. Obviously, we can only do so much to prepare accordingly for council, according to the rules, ensure that everything is in order, the agenda, the environment is conducive, there's adequate security, and, you know, it sits as it's supposed to. But how the members would behave, that is a different story, because we don't have control on that. We can try as much as possible, as you would have seen the speaker trying last week, to control the House, to call them to order. They would ask for caucuses just to delay the meeting, and those, according to the rules, have to be granted. You have to just flow and roll along with that. So it's the behavioral aspect, you know, of the councillors that is a problem. But other than that, in terms of preparedness and understanding the agenda, what needs to be done, members being clear and aware and oriented on the proceedings, that has been taken care of. Our concern is the behavior of the opposition in failure to accept that they are in opposition and they are the minority, and to allow the majority, which is the multi-party coalition, to govern and to carry on with the business of the day. Because you rightly said, we can't keep carrying on like this, you know, with people deliberately collapsing council, because the big agenda here is really to call the attention of the MEC, because after 3 collapses, the MEC must step in and may, you know, according to his powers, even put the municipality under administration, which is then bringing back the ANC through the back door, because that's the big agenda, to say after 3 meetings that collapse, the MEC must then come and you know, put in processes to assist the municipality to function. So we are aware of that. However, it's the behavior that we can't control. We are trusting that all our members, the 140 members of the multi-party coalition, will be present and therefore would automatically correct, and whether there's a walkout or not, it would not affect the business of the day. However, people do get sick and things happen along the way. You can't guarantee 140 attendance, but that's what we're aiming for, so that we can now proceed to, you know, really dealing with the issues affecting the residents instead of votes.
Thank you so much for explaining it so clearly. Absolutely fascinating to understand the workings of the City Council. That was Colleen Makhubele. She's the newly elected Chair of Chairs for the City of Johannesburg. She's a member of the COPE party and, of course, a member of that multi-party coalition.